welcome to Sam Jae Has Questions. My name is Sam Jae. My guest today is Jessica Amal.
Hi.
I have questions for you.
Sweet. I have answers.
There we go. Let's just start at the top. Tell us where you're from.
I am from Southern California, LA County. I was born and raised in Glendora, California.
Okay.
It's like a very Mormon town. I'm not Mormon.
You're not Mormon.
But there's a lot of Mormons there. And
what was it like?
it's a bedroom community. There's like one bar, I think maybe two.
I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, just like there's not a lot going on in Glendora. It's like very conservative. I think like they have two cool things that I guess people outside of Glendora know about. One is there's a 9/11 memorial. I don't know why.
Okay.
And the second thing is there is a donut shop called Donut Man, and apparently people from LA will drive to Glendora to eat donuts there because they make them fresh, and they do this like strawberry thing that's like supposedly, the best thing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So donut man.
Donut Man.
Okay.
Like we don't have.
But you're not
LA.
impressed by it.
I mean,
we don't have to. We can edit this part out.
Yeah.
Donut Man, if you're listening, sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, sponsor it. No, because I booked a job and we would have rehearsals in San Diego, and my castmates were like, "Wait, you grew up in Glendora? We need to go to Donut Man." I'm like, "What? You know Donut Man?" And so we would, on our way to San Diego, we would stop there and get donuts. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were like, you know what? I don't really enjoy donuts that much. I think I'm going to get out of Glendora and go. Where did you?
I went to AMDA, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. And so they have a campus in New York, a campus in LA. And the year that I started was the very first year that the LA campus opened. So when I was there was probably less than 50 students in the whole school. And my graduating class was like 21 people. And like most of them don't live in LA and don't pursue acting or the arts anymore.
It was their choice.
Yeah. They either like got pregnant or got someone pregnant or like just decided like, oh, this is hard.
Wow. So what was it like transitioning from like a theater performing school to trying to book stuff and taking maybe, other classes outside of like that college?
Yeah. So like we weren't supposed to take classes outside of school, and we weren't supposed to audition for stuff outside of school because they wanted to sort of like cement their methods, I guess.
Okay.
But I was very rebellious, and because I grew up in Southern California, like when I was in high school, I got a manager when I was 17 and like got headshots and was taking class in LA and driving out here by myself. And actually, when I was younger than that, because my parents worked full time, they didn't want to be stage parents. So I would get a Backstage West and I would audition for theater and like, whatever I could, whatever audition opportunity I could get, I would do. So when I was like 13, I did a play in North Hollywood, and I remember calling the production like myself and being like, I'd like to make an audition appointment. And I like got cast in that little show, and I thought it was the biggest deal ever. But because like I did it all myself, like
Wow.
My parents didn't like, they drove me, but they weren't like, you have to do theater. I was like very self-motivated.
How did you know where to start?
Well, I took these classes in Santa Monica at one point, which they might have been a scam. I don't know. It was called like
Donald Trump University.
Donald Trump University. It was called like Beverly Hills Acting Studio, but it was in Santa Monica. And I don't think the place exists anymore, but it was like, you learned how to audition for commercials and like for theatrical, like TV and film and stuff. And it was all kids, and they probably charged like way too much, but my mom like let me do it. And taught us like, oh, you know, you get the Backstage West, you look for auditions, you submit to agents, and I was like a chubby kid, so no agent ever wanted to rep me. But yeah, I just was like, I wanted it so badly. Like,
wow. What was the first thing that you saw that kind of inspired you or motivated you to do that? Whether like a person or a movie?
When I was 4, my parents took me to see Cats. I think the touring company came here to LA, and it was so like
that was it.
I was 4, and they were like adults dressed as cats on stage. And I was like,
this checks off a lot of boxes.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you can grow up and do that.
Like, I do that on my own with no costume.
I know. I was like, so yeah, I just like from that point on, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to sing and dance and, you know, entertain people. And my mom would always like, they're very supportive, but they would be like, you know, but if you decide later you want to do something else, and I'm like, no, why would I?
Yeah.
What, you know?
Do you have any siblings?
I have a brother. He's 16 years younger than me. So I'm like a medium only child.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I was wondering, like, if they had, like, whether it was an older sibling, you know, they were like, well, Jessica, she likes this acting thing, but, you know, she's probably ultimately going to do what her older brother does, or, you know what I mean? Like, they were like, it's a phase type of thing, would you say?
Maybe. Like, maybe they thought at one point, but it never like really fizzled out. I was always just like crazy about it.
Have you taken a break from performing or auditioning since you started at age 16?
Not really. I went to the Art Institute and studied film, and I was still like auditioning for stuff, and actually was like really so lame because I wanted to study film because I wanted to make opportunities for myself. And then towards the end of my, like me studying there, I remember talking to one of my teachers, and I was like, well, yeah, I'd like to like write and direct, but like, you know, I still want to be acting. And they were like, well, you know, honestly, like you probably have a better shot at just acting. Like, not that I wasn't like talented in those things. Like I like won awards in school and stuff, like not to brag, but like,
no, please brag.
No, but like,
and look into that camera. That's your brag camera.
Oh, hey.
Brag aim. Okay, it's your brag angle.
My brag angle. Brag.
You can do a humble brag too.
Yeah, it's a humble brag.
I just had so many awards. Eventually, I ran out of space in my room, and
I have so many awards from my school that shut down and like doesn't exist. Like my bogus school, that like, but no, I did well in school, and I was like very competitive and always very ambitious, like with my projects and my films, but it was like, yeah, at the end of it all, it was like, but what do I really love? Like, it's acting, like it's performing over everything else,
over writing or producing, or
right.
So you went to 2 schools then. These are 2 film. The one was an acting program.
The one was an acting program. It was a 2-year program. Then I went to the Art Institute, which was in Santa Monica.
And that's another. Is that a 4-year? Or what is another? Is that like the LA Film School or something?
It's kind of like LA Film School. I got my bachelor's, but I did it in 3 years because I like took classes over the summer and like just like busted through it. So, so I was in college for like 5 years.
So your intention for the institute was learn how to make your own stuff that you can act in and do everything yourself,
right? Because
you just figured that was the only for sure way to actually be working.
Yeah, I mean,
in a way.
Well, because when I was in AMDA and I was auditioning for stuff when I wasn't supposed to be, I was auditioning for a lot of student films, at USC and UCLA and all these amazing film schools, and I would book a lot of student films, and I was like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. I have ideas. I want to make stuff. And also just feeling like I have more control over my creativity where like, I'm not waiting around for someone to like put me in something like, or, I think like it's important to fulfill your creative needs and not wait for someone to give you permission.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's the this is a hard question. I've never asked this before, but what is the creativity that you use in acting? Like what makes it creative?
Yeah.
That might be an obvious dumb question, but
no.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think okay, so obviously like when you get a script or a scene or something and you're given like a bunch of given circumstances. You know, who the character is and some basic idea of why they are the way they are. But I think where the creativity comes in is like the stuff that's not on the page that you have to create for yourself, and you have to really use your imagination and like find what that is for you that connects you to that character. So because sometimes we play things that are so outside of ourselves, but it's like, how do I connect to this person in a way that's going to make me grounded, and still bring my own flavor to it, you know? Because like, you know, you can look at a character and I can, and we can play it totally different, because you're going to bring your own stuff to it, you know? So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's like sort of how it works in my mind.
The creativity, to sum up or to summarize, is like whatever is not on the page.
Yeah.
Whatever's not been written or directed to you, you're choosing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You're making choices, and breathing life into that person. So yeah.
When do you know that you're in a character that doesn't have that? What's the sort of thoughts that run through your head when you're like, oh man, I'm literally just rehearsing these lines or something?
Yeah, I think like when I feel like I'm not in my body, if I feel like I don't know what to do with my hands, or I'm just like very, you know what I mean? It's just like very like awkward. Like something's not really like, it's just not totally there. I don't know how to describe it. It's just not clicking. Yeah, it's an awful feeling.
And you're just like, guys, on the other side of the camera, like, this has to be apparent that I don't have it. And so, I mean, maybe not. Sometimes they can't tell.
Sometimes they can't tell. I've worked on plays where I've had to pull the director aside and be like, look, I'm not feeling this. I don't think you're getting the performance you want. Can we like figure this out? And usually if they're a good director who wants the show to be good or whatever, will, you know, it's not like it happens that often, but I've had one instance where it was like, okay, this is weird. Like the play it was a really fun play, but the character was not like fully fleshed out, and it was kind of weird, but we worked it out, and it ended up being great.
Yeah. What is, in your experience, seeing these roles that are being casted and auditioning for them, what is something that comes up that's a common type of character that women are playing? Or I'm assuming are you auditioning for both comedies and dramas?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mostly audition for commercials these days. Like, okay. And then if I get a theatrical audition, it's like maybe a couple lines co-star. Not not a lot of things that are like, unless it's an indie thing.
Okay.
That's like really meaty. I had an audition a couple weeks ago that I thought went really well, but I didn't get a call back for it. But it was like this mother who was like kidnapped, and she was pregnant, and like the next scene was like she'd been there for 9 years because the kid was 9 years old. It was very dramatic.
Wow. That's intense.
It was really intense. but yeah, I was feeling it. So,
Okay, so this was a dramatic role that you had. What was your preparation for that?
yeah, again, like given circumstances, also the character being pregnant and myself being pregnant, I was like, it was really easy for me to connect to that. And like, I just knew, it was weird, like reading that, I just knew how she was feeling like right away. It was just really easy to click into. Where sometimes it's just like, you have to like feel it out, or you have to like rehearse it and really like find the nuance and the like pace of the scene. And
Yeah, it's everything. I feel like when I'm not aware that I'm saying the lines is the place that I want to get to.
yeah.
Because I don't know if I have ever really moved into a character as an actor. I think I've just been able to get the lines down and not have that awareness of me on stage saying that.
Yeah.
At least from playing characters and sketches.
Right.
So I don't, and that might just be a type attributed to my education in acting and my, or lack thereof.
Sure.
But I also take it as I don't really enjoy it, or it's not something that I'm really driven to do.
Yeah.
But I am interested in improving the pieces that I do enjoy. You know, like,
Right, yeah.
like there's so many acting schools, and I've been asking people like, where should I study? What's the best place you recommend that's like gonna cover basics and whatnot? And I almost want to just go in there and be like, look, what do I need to know for what I'm gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know anything more or anything, like, not to set the bar low, but just like, just help me get to the, like,
Right.
because there's like a, what is it? There's an assumption that I'm going to play this type of person, or this is my type. So let me
Right.
just nail the type.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be doing anything else.
Yeah. I think like, I mean, there's so many different methods and like approaches. I think something that's helped me is it's kind of weird, but is this voice work. It's called the Fitzmaurice. It's called Fitzmaurice, and it's a lot of working on presence and deconstruction. So it's a lot of like physical exercise, breathing techniques, and yeah, you're working on the voice, but there's something about that work that kind of makes you look at the scene or the character in a different way, because you're deconstructing in a physical way that, I don't know, for me gives me the freedom to play more.
Okay.
And
Wait, you're saying you're deconstructing the character's voice, or what is being? I mean,
yeah, so it's like real weird. So we like, you're
yeah.
on
Can you give us an example?
You're on a yoga mat, and they do a lot of like, I'm probably butchering like what Fitzmaurice technique is. So
no, this is exactly what it is.
This is exactly what it is.
Interested,
but we
based off her explanation.
Yes. But basically, like, you lay on a yoga mat, you put your body in these different positions, and you do these tremors, like you create a tremor in the body. So
with your breath?
It's not really with your breath. It's like with certain parts of your body. So if like you're laying and like you're like this, I don't know if you can see this. Like in the butterfly position, like, okay, you're like get to a point where your legs are just like shaking, right?
Okay,
And you're doing this like tremor, okay? And it's not constricting your breath. The whole point is to breathe through it. And to like be able to breathe and feel this tremor sensation. And because like we hold a lot of trauma, with tremors, it's like a lot of self-soothing. It's like a mechanism that our bodies do naturally when
It lets go.
It lets go of stuff. So tremors like part of the technique, but also you know, it's like saying, if you have dialogue, if you're working on a piece, it's like saying the dialogue in a way that is not like routine. It's not in any sort of like constructed manner. It's just like kind of all over the place, like just allows you to sort of just like be messy with everything, I guess. Okay. I'm totally butchering this, but
I'm going to try it when I get home.
It's great. There's definitely videos online about Fitzmaurice technique and voice work, and there are amazing people in this town who teach it. And then there's like a part of the class, and these classes are done in groups, where you do these different exercises on presence. So like you stand in front of the class, it's extremely vulnerable, and you have to be present with how you feel in the moment. So like maybe they'll tell you like, hey, do you have a monologue you're working on? So, share with us your monologue. And so you'll start to do it. And then they'll ask you like, how is that making you feel right now? And you're like, well, I'm feeling like I want to grip my stomach because I'm like nervous, and I'm starting to constrict my breath here. And then like, how does that make you feel? And then like, and then you'll just start crying randomly because like you're embarrassed. But it's like you go through all these different things, and it's so weirdly like freeing. And the funny thing is like I'm usually the only comedy person in these classes. So like you have all these really serious actors who are doing all this beautiful work about, living in New York and struggling and being a person of color and like, being abused. And then it's like me being like,
Donut
come and watch me sing as I build. like doing purpose. And like, but like, it's so funny because like, I'll like find stuff for my characters, like when I'm doing this weird work.
I think there's something dark in Purvis.
Yeah.
There's a darkness.
There is a darkness.
I'll put a link to Purvis if we have Purvis anywhere online. I'm sure, right? On YouTube?
I can put him on YouTube.
It's a fun character.
It is a fun character.
You did that in
What a Character.
In What a Character.
Yeah. I did it for one Femmebot show too. I'd like to make like a whole little web series of Purvis.
Purvis can have their own podcast.
Yeah, he could. About building and singing.
Perfcast.
Perfcast. Perfcast. Yes.
Let me move on to another question. Did you think you'd be talking about Tremors tonight?
I didn't really think about it, but it's like, yeah.
I liked it. I'm gonna look it up. Look it up, people. It sounds really interesting. Don't do it at home without training. I feel like we might need to add that disclaimer. Something might happen.
Find a good teacher that'll teach you what it actually is and not what I just said. But it's awesome. I think for me, it's like the best acting class.
So like you said, you haven't taken a break since you started at age 16 as a teenager.
Yeah.
Within some capacity of training and watching plays or TV or movies. What do you do to like? Do you ever what do you do to like maybe refresh a little bit, cleanse the palate from performing and memorizing stuff in classes? What are your activities that you like to?
Well, like yoga is very important for me. Meditation. I have 3 dogs, so I like to spend as much time with them as I can.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I mean,
I won't tell them.
I love them all. I love all 3 of them, but Mimsy is my boy.
Okay. That's the smallest one.
That's the smallest one. He has to have knee surgery, so he's like extra baby right now.
Blew out that little knee.
That little knee, that like
it's
tiny
Maltese, right?
Yeah. It's 4 pounds. That teeny tiny knee.
Yeah. It's like a chicken bone.
Yeah. It's probably smaller. I know.
So there's a GoFundMe for
no.
Send traffic over there. So you like to hang out with your dogs, do yoga,
travel, and then like my family's here, so I like to spend time with my family. I think they're crazy, but like I had 4 family deaths this summer, and so I'm
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it sucks, but it's just like makes me realize like, oh, okay, time's fleeting. I feel good when I'm with them. Like there's just something that makes me feel good about being around my family, so I try to spend time with them as much as I can.
Yeah, I had something that I realized a few weeks ago starting this new job at Cast that, oh, my hours are going to change. I was unemployed essentially. I was just doing comedy and writing as much as I can and like little gigs here or there, but I essentially could be like every night I get to leave and go do stand up or, you know, go to shows or whatever. And now that I'm back to a schedule and at an office, I found myself like, oh, I'm so exhausted. I can't go to the mics that I go to. I have to change. And I was really down on myself because I felt as if I'm not able to work on what I need to do. Like I'm not furthering myself. And then I realized it's a little vague, but an aspect of it, like I am more than just those activities.
Yeah.
As a person, like that,
Right.
whatever is gonna put me forward or my life or what's important. Like I've basically what I had identified myself were these specific activities.
Yeah.
And I sort of like aligned myself in that activity, and that was what I was in a way. And then once that changed, I was like, man, I'm not able to execute and not able to perform, and I really was down on myself. And like I said, like I was like, I'm more than those activities, like my family. And right after that, I was like, when was the last time I've seen my family? And I had to check in with and be like, okay, maybe let's do some of that, and not, you know, now I'm not giving up my weekends to people like I used to.
Yeah, I think it's like interesting that you say that, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. There's this, have you seen Shangri-La on, I think it's on HBO or Showtime or something. It's like a documentary series about Rick Rubin, whether you like Rick Rubin or not. I have mixed feelings about him, but the biggest thing that I took away from that documentary is you can't rely on your creative goals or your career goals to bring you happiness. So basically, like, you have to be happy as a person on your own and not count on those creative things to fulfill you. Because what will happen is you will reach those goals, and if you haven't like worked on yourself, or if you're not like, it's gonna make you more unhappy. Yeah.
It's tough. I feel like I sort of put off that happiness in a way, like whether it's socializing or only doing activities that are going to be like quote unquote in line with whatever those types of goals are.
Right.
And yeah, that's it.
And we all do that.
Yeah.
We all do that. And it's so easy to like forget that. But it was like, yeah, I don't know. When I watched that documentary, I was like, oh yeah.
So this is what Rick Rubin did not do.
No, he was talking to an artist about it. He has several like famous artists in his studio, and he practices yoga. No, I don't know, yoga meditation with them, and different forms of self-care, and sort of offers them guidance. And at one point in the documentary, that's one of the things that he says, and that like resonated with me quite a bit. And it's like that old Chinese proverb, like, be careful where you're going, because you might already be there. Like, like, yeah, I mean, I have friends who've reached a lot of success in their careers. And the thing is like, nothing lasts. So like, you can be in that TV show or that movie or sell a film or do all those things. But that job or career or, that big celebration, it's not going to be like a lifelong achievement. It's like going to be a blip in like
the rest of
the
your
rest
life
of
is
your
still
life
happening.
is still happening. So you have to be a full person, like what Lucy says in her book, Lucille Ball. Yeah, it's just important to, I think, make sure that you are practicing self-care and like doing those things for yourself.
Yeah, I for sure have fallen off a little bit on that, but realizing it is sort of a good thing, and because then you can adjust.
Exactly.
You know, it's when you don't realize it.
Right.
So, I mean, what are the sort of things that when you catch yourself not taking care of yourself, like when do you start to get into the red a little bit? What sort of activities is going on? Is it I mean, what do you think is when can you for sure know
that I'm like doing too much?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like when I'm physically like exhausted, I think doing too many shows, live shows, and they're fun, but I think it's important to say no. I think like when you're doing 7 shows a week, you know, at the Pack or wherever, like at a certain point, like people are like, well, I'm not going to come to your show because I'll see your next show, or you know what I mean? Like it's not as special.
Yeah. It loses some value.
And like you're exhausted and you don't have to do that to yourself. And also like, if you say no, then like when you do say yes, it's more special.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that might be the title of the podcast. It's important to say no.
It's important to say no.
But yeah, I mean, so we can kind of go over where we met.
Yeah.
Back in 2013, 2014.
Yeah, 14.
At the Pack Theater in Eric, yeah.
Sam's class. Yeah.
Yeah. So through classes at the Pack Theater, and then we were ultimately put on a sketch team through the classes that was called 100% Stuff with 16 members total. That's a lot of people. And if you need to go back, I said 16 people were on this sketch team, and we were performing our own monthly show.
Yeah.
For how many years? And then
I mean, I was on the team for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Maybe a little more than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the team had gone to San Francisco Sketch Fest, had gone to Austin Sketch Fest.
Yeah.
Sonoma.
Sonoma
Sketch Fest. So the team had people who were obviously dedicated enough, and we had the quality of writing to go out and perform. I learned a ton performing in another city and traveling as an act with people. And it seems so long ago.
It does. It feels like we were babies back then.
We really were.
Yeah.
I mean, I still had a mustache, but I was still a baby.
I know. So true.
But can we talk about like what you learned about collaboration from that point? Had you collaborated with that many people before compared to obviously now you're in a new group, but
yeah,
what was your like learning curve for?
I mean, I had been on other sketch teams before, like indie teams, and I think that was the largest team I had ever been on. For me, it's hard because I come from like a dance background, and like I was in competitive show choir. Humble brag. I was in competitive show choir.
Have a little counter. Ding. Ding.
High school. We were a terrible team. We would like never win. We were so bad at it. But what I learned from doing competitive show choir is that you are as strong as your weakest link. And what I've learned being on sketch teams is that everyone wants to be the star of the sketch team. So I think like what makes a successful sketch team is when you can really work as an ensemble and you really support one another and you really try to highlight what people's strengths are. And you share the stage. I don't know. That's my theory.
That's your theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
that wasn't the case with the 100% stuff.
Not really. I think there were, obviously like there are people that were on that team that I think are very collaborative and that I still like enjoy working with. But there were definitely people who wanted to be, I don't know.
What would you say to those people now?
Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, they're all doing well.
They are. I don't
very-
wish anyone ill. No ill feelings towards anyone. It was all a learning experience.
You can write it down on a paper and hand it to me. How you really feel. No, I'm just kidding. But let's talk about your team that you're on now.
Yeah. So, Femmebot PhD, we actually started in 2014 at the same time as 100% Stuff. There was 3 of us, Denise Ojeda, Andra Moldav, and myself. We're the 3 original members of Femmebot, and we just started as an indie team, and we were making videos. And then when we quit 100% Stuff, which is really funny because we quit the Monday after Sketchfest, and we didn't tell each other that we were all quitting 100% Stuff.
I'll put a link to all the emails that they sent in the show notes.
We all wrote our emails like at the same time.
Did you guys talk about this?
No, and then like
there was no collusion.
There was no collusion. No collusion.
You do it, Trump, right?
I do. And then like I sent my email, and then like I sent the girls a text and was like, I just quit the team, and they're like, oh my God, I'm writing my email right now too.
You guys didn't talk about it at all?
I mean, I think
the writing was on the wall for you, at least maybe.
Yeah, it was for me. But
wow.
Yeah.
I was bummed because I had just written a bunch of sketches for Denise. She's like, there's no, she had talked about not like getting sketches written for her or something. So I was like, I will fix this problem. I got you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, she's gone.
She's gone. Okay.
I can still work with her, but
yeah. So funny. Yeah. So then I emailed Eric and Sam and said, oh yeah, I quit the team. And he was like, who else quit? And I was like, Denise and Andra. And then he was like, oh, okay. I wish you would have told me. Cause he was like putting together other sketch teams to be part of sketch night. And then Denise was actually helping him with sketch night. And so then he offered Femmebot a monthly spot at the pack.
So you guys are on Sunday nights, right?
Yeah, we're still on Sunday nights. So we've been on Sunday nights since March of 2016. So yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And now we have an hour show. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And you guys recently screened a pilot that you had we filmed for it, or what was the origin of that?
Yeah, we were shooting a bunch of video sketches. My friend Mike has a really nice camera, and he was like really hungry to shoot stuff. So I was like, well, we have a ton of sketches, like let's shoot. So we were just, filming a bunch of videos, and then our director, Curtis Rainsbury, was like, you guys have enough material to put together a pilot. So then we thought of a concept to sort of like how we wanted to tie our sketches together. So because there's 6 of us on the team, we thought, well, having all 6 of us on stage telling jokes is a little weird. So the way we formatted it was us in the world doing a thing. So in the pilot episode, we're trying to get to the bottom of bottomless mimosas at brunch. So it's just us basically getting more and more drunk throughout the interstitials, and then like,
the sketches
with the sketches in between. So
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it was like kind of a beast to edit because it was 3 cameras and 6 people talking over each other and improvising. And
right. This was the interstitial type.
Yeah.
Okay. But the sketches had already been made.
The sketches were already made.
Those were things that you had like accumulated over time.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the goal for making good stuff, and you get to like put it together. Because, I mean, what sort of reaction did you guys get from it?
Yeah, we got a really great reaction. We got a meeting with Funny or Die. They passed.
Did they?
Yeah. Well, like no one wants to buy a sketch show right now, apparently. But they like we have other opportunities that have come from that to work with them, like with doing digital content online.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, and like it's definitely like opened up other opportunities. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Action kind of gets more action, so to speak.
right. Yeah.
I feel like I sometimes get locked in that gap where you're like, okay, so we're going to make a pilot and we're going to have all this stuff. And then what happens after? You know, you're like, what happens? And that sort of unknown. I mean, there are channels, but if you're outside of that
Right.
that world, you have no idea.
Yeah. It can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So somehow I'm talking to myself, forgetting about that and just doing it anyways.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because now it's like, at the very least, you have something to show for all the work you did. Like, you know, you're like, hey, I can do this. I put this together. I finished it. It's like, yeah, here's proof I can make something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of just trust me, I can make it.
Yeah. Trust me, I can make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still work together. I've done sketches with you.
Yeah.
And Fembot. I've hosted one of the co-guested.
Yeah.
What's the term? And it's always so much fun.
Yeah.
Being with you guys.
We have fun. We definitely have, you know, friendship outside of being on a team together.
Do you think that's what ultimately makes a great team? Is that sort of...
I think it definitely helps make a great team. I think, I think like when you love and respect your teammates off of the stage, like you take care of each other on stage, but also like, you know, with every team and every sort of family, there's like always little drama and micro tension and whatever, like, but at the end of the day, when it's time to like perform, you put that shit aside and you like have your teammates back and you don't let that get in the way of putting on a great show. You know, you're just like, what's most important is like putting on the best show and having so much fun on stage. And if I'm like having tension with someone, that just goes out the door.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
And then when the show's over, the tension comes back.
Yeah, when the show's over, you can be like, fuck that bitch.
These are life lessons, everybody. Okay, I have a few more questions. We're going through them. What was your original dream job would have been in a production of Cats?
I mean,
is that what I'm hearing?
No, I mean,
because that was the first thing that you were like,
that was the
people
first people can do this. Yeah, I wanted to do musical theater for a long time, but then I didn't want to live in New York because I don't like cold weather. I mean, I guess you can pursue musical theater in LA, but it just sort of like the reality changed. But honestly, when I was in high school and like doing dance and singing and everything was great, my dance friends and I, we would make videos that were basically video sketches.
Okay.
All the time. Like that's what we would do in our spare time. And I had a friend from high school come see a Fembot show recently. She was like, oh my God, you've literally been doing this forever. Like you never stopped doing sketch. And I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. This has like always been my thing. But like I used to love watching In Living Color and SNL and all that and all those old sketch shows.
So what's the dream job? Is there one, or is it a dream life?
Yeah, I guess
dream, like I don't know, how do you?
Yeah, I don't know. I like would love to say like, oh, to be on a sitcom or to be on a show would be awesome. I'm such a huge fan of Catherine O'Hara. To just like be on a show like Schitt's Creek or something where you can just play an amazing character like that. I think that's like the dream.
The dream.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get specific myself.
Yeah,
with that, because like what exactly would it be?
Right.
Tell me what you want, and if you don't know what you want, how do you expect to get it?
Yeah.
You can do the work, but then you gotta know what are you shooting for.
I know.
Very specific. I'm trying to visualize. I'm bad at visualizing in that sort of way. I mean, I can, creatively write and come up with ideas, but as far as like, I've had to start writing down exactly what it is. I'm reading, I forget, it's a book about creativity by Questlove.
Oh,
have you read that yet?
I started reading it.
I'm getting through it. It's kind of just been like, I'll pick it up and put it down. But
me too. I'm like, I'm going on a flight and I'll like read it and then I will stop reading it.
So,
yeah.
But one of the pieces that he recommends is what he did on one of his albums before they wrote it, before they made it, was he imagined what the cover of Rolling Stone would look like in the article describing the album would be. And what they would say about it.
Interesting.
So for me, I thought about like, okay, what would my like Netflix comedy special be called? What would the critics say about it? What would the energy of it be? And thinking about that, and then even just talking about it now, I can kind of like, navigate through that, or okay, I'm gonna lean this way, or I found it really helpful.
Yeah,
because I'd never done it before.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool.
I would recommend the book.
Yeah,
it might take you a while to get through it, but it's definitely worth it.
It's cool.
Yeah. So that was your dream job, would be working.
I think it would be to be on a television show. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I love sketch comedy so much that if I could do sketch comedy for a living, that would be, I mean, the dream. Mm-hmm. But also just like to be able to play a fun character and like live in that character for several years or seasons, like that would be amazing.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
I can see it now. I can see the billboard.
Wow.
What would you say is your comedic like perspective, or what makes you laugh? What type of comedy and humor?
Yeah. Well, definitely inspired by Lucille Ball. Like, I love Lucy a lot. I love like that classic, just like her physical comedy. And also what I love about that show is just the way they mix like song and dance and like clowning, and like it just has all these things. It's not just like, it's
not just a sitcom.
Mm-hmm. And like Schitt's Creek kind of has like a little bit of that too. They have the singing and dancing, and like it's not like quite as like Ricky Ricardo, but
would a modern show be like? I mean, I couldn't think of like a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend that has like kind of singing and dancing, and
that's too. I think so. I like that show. Yeah. I don't know. I think I like whimsy. I like big, like theatrical fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I also like I love Chappelle. I love I have a pretty like,
oh, that's a big range.
I know.
That's great. No.
I have a pretty open, like I don't take myself too seriously because my father's from Massachusetts and he's a ball buster. So,
what does he do? What's his like?
Oh my God.
What is he? I think I've met him.
Oh yeah. I think you have. He's definitely been to our shows. My dad one time.
And your uncle.
And my uncle. Yeah. They're very funny.
Yeah.
They're more funny than I am. My dad, my grandma, she passed away this summer, but she used to come visit every year to escape the winters in Massachusetts. And one year she came to visit, and she comes out of her room with this big bottle of hair gel. And she's like, Andy, did you leave your hair gel at my house? And my dad's completely bald. And so he's like, yeah, Ma, that's my hair gel. It's for the hair on my balls. So that's like...
It sounds like they planned that. That was like a bit.
It was just like, I can't even write that. I can't write that. Like, that's just how they are all the time. So yeah.
Just I'm imagining a bald man putting hair gel in.
And my uncle's sitting right there, and he's like a full head of hair, and he's like, yeah, that's my hair gel. He's like, I left it at your house because I didn't want to have to buy another bottle of hair gel next time I come to visit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so funny. I know.
That's incredible. I love the family stories. Let's talk about failure.
Yeah.
What was your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Oh, so when I was in film school, I shot my film on 16 millimeter, my thesis film. And we had like 10 actors, and I wanted to do this like comedy, and there was a lot of improv involved, and all the sound files were corrupt. And we shot on film, so we didn't even have like camera audio. So we had to like literally recreate all of the audio from scratch.
You're telling me that you ADR'd the entire project?
The entire, and it was like,
let's just turn it into a silent film with subtitles?
No, we ADR'd the entire film, and it was a mess, and it was painful and torturous. Like, I think I cried every day during post-production for at least 3 months. But I graduated, like, and then, but you know what? Here's the thing. It was like, it was so devastating in so many ways. But then I graduated and I was like, okay, I really want to try to finish this film somehow. I don't know how it's going to happen. A friend of mine was like, oh, I know a great sound guy. He works at NBC. I'm like, I can't pay him. She's like, no, that's okay. Just like buy him some beer or some weed and he'll totally do it for free. And so I met with him. He started working on the film. He's now my husband. So we never finished the movie. We never finished it, but like that's how we met. And like,
wow.
It's kind of weird. Like,
if you didn't fuck up the files or whoever did,
yeah,
you
like
wouldn't
I don't know that we would have been friends or we would have like known each other. So
that's incredible. I am going to delete all of my audio files to meet my wife. It sounds like that's what I gotta do.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta fuck up a project that really means a lot to you. Go through one of like the biggest depressions of your life. But it was like, I remember having that moment of like, oh my God, if that didn't happen, like I wouldn't have this person in my life.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So crazy. So yeah, it was like a failure, but like, I don't know. I really think like things are like happen for a reason. Like,
I'm starting to believe that too.
Yeah. And like I used to be like get real caught up in FOMO, but I'm like kind of like, you know what? We never miss anything. Like we are where we need to be, and like it'll all work out.
Mm-hmm.
Just have to trust whatever you want, the universe, God, whatever you believe, you know?
Wow.
But I think that's like, I mean, that helps me get through it. Otherwise it gets really depressing.
Wow. I'm very inspired. Thank you for sharing that. That was great. My last question for you, well, maybe I have 2 more. Currently working on any projects, or is it just kind of the Femmebot show, or is any personal things that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, just the Femmebot show right now, because I'm pregnant. I've been very sick with morning sickness, or as I like to call it, all day sickness.
Oh no.
But hopefully that'll be over soon with the second trimester.
Okay.
But yeah, that's like, so I've just been trying to like be a supportive team member, and I didn't do the last couple shows, but hopefully coming back this month. We're going to New York Sketch Fest.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we're doing that in 2 weeks. I'm going to do that. Hopefully it'll all be fine.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my focus. I'm growing a human inside me. I guess that's my big project right now.
Wow. What does it feel like?
It feels it feels very exhausting. And I'm nauseous a lot, but it's also very emotional, like in a good way. And like Seeing my family get so happy about me like creating a life, like I didn't realize how much my family loves me. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're like,
Yeah.
so it's pretty special time.
This is gonna be the last question because they're vacuuming. Yeah. This is what happens when you stay late at the podcast studio. The cleaners come. They're just doing their job. That's all right.
That's all right.
So I like this question. It's the life billboard.
Uh-huh.
And if you had a billboard on Sunset and La Cienega, and you can have anything on it, you can have an image, a saying, anything. What would your billboard say?
Oh, this is such a hard question. Well, okay, I guess like it would have to be my favorite old Arab saying. I'm Middle Eastern. My mother taught me this, and that is, life is like a cucumber. 1 minute it's in your hand, the next it's in your butt.
Damn.
So
there's a weird relationship with cucumbers in that culture, it sounds
we
like.
love cucumbers. Arabs love cucumbers. We eat a lot of them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I think you've answered all of my questions,
Sweet.
Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you
No,
want to talk about?
I don't think so. The vacuuming stopped.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I think that's it.
This is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.